Yo, what's good? Easy Breezy Ebe here, and tonight we got Apocalypse Now review. I just saw the movie. No, that's a lie. I saw it weeks ago. I just didn't do this part yet. You can check out part 1 and part 2 of my movie reaction to this movie because it was a long ass movie.
Coming in hot.
Surfboards! Oh! Ooh! Yep, those are some parts of it. I put the link for the first part up here, and I'll put the link to the second one as well down in the description below. If you haven't been here before, welcome. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button down below. I'm a small channel, so every little thing counts. And if you have been here before, welcome back, yo. So yeah, sorry I haven't been posting videos. I've kind of been in reading mode lately. I just, I started getting into reading again, and there's work stuff, which is usual, but I've sort of taken some time off the video editing and reacting. But I will do more, and don't unsubscribe or anything. Walking Dead final season's coming now. Midnight Mass, the Mike Flanagan, the haunting guy, his stuff is coming out soon. So I'll be there for that. If you've watched some of my stuff from previously, you guys know I do reactions to that stuff. And I'll do some more movies in the future as well. But if I don't post for a while, it's not that I don't want to. It's just, I've sort of been in my reading bag. So another reason why I'm doing this late is I did already do this, but I forgot to turn my mic on. So I was like, you know what? I can't do it again right now. So I'm going to do it later. And that's why I'm doing it now, a few weeks later. There are a few things that I want to talk about specifically. I want to talk about sort of Mr. Clean dying. I want to talk about a little bit about Robert Duvall's character. We'll talk about this being an adaptation a little bit. I'll talk about the Bunnies, why the Bunnies are in the movie, and then we'll talk about Marlon Brando and the ending. So those 5 main things. I hope I don't go too long with this, but yeah, before we get started on that, just shout out to the actors: Martin Sheen, Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Dennis Hopper, Lawrence Fishburne, and everybody. The cast is great. Why wouldn't it be great? This is a Francis Ford Coppola movie. Francis Ford Coppola made The Godfather, all 3 of them, and other things as well. So, high budget sort of thing. Also, a 6th thing I want to talk about is the practical effects. And I'll just talk a little bit about that right now. I kind of mentioned it in the reaction itself, but practical effects, they just don't do them like that anymore. Nowadays with CGI, even though the cost may even be cost less in CGI, but less in practical, more in CGI, because you can sort of customize what you get on screen more. I just feel like you can't substitute real life. CGI is great, and 99% of the time, I'm telling you, we don't even know what we're watching in CGI. But I just feel like even though we are our eyes and we on a conscious level can't recognize if it's real or not, I think that subconsciously we can. And like when you see a movie like this, when they're just dropping napalm, I don't know if that was real napalm or what's going on there, but you can't replicate that really. I just don't think we're there yet. So practical effects, man, it's always more. It's always bigger. It's more visceral. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. So this movie is actually an adaptation. Who would have thought that this was an adaptation on Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad about 120 years ago. This book came out, and from what I can gather, I quickly skimmed through the Wikipedia as I was sort of looking up after the movie. I had to double check, was that Lawrence Fishburne or not. I saw that this movie is an adaptation of Heart of Darkness, but in Heart of Darkness, obviously, it was way before the Vietnam War. So how could that be an adaptation to a Vietnam War? And in the book, it wasn't the Vietnam War. They were still going upriver somewhere. I'm not exactly sure what the mission in that case was. We'll talk about the mission later of the movie. But they were going upriver, and instead of Vietnam, it was some country in Africa. 1900, I'm not even sure the countries in Africa were established yet, all of them, or how they look like today. But I don't know why I want to say Congo, but I could be wrong. But again, I think it's another sort of Westerner white guy going to this, and I don't mean this derogatorily, but like going to this sort of foreign country and meeting some indigenous savages. That's the story here, and which leads me to my next point, which is like, when we talk about war movies, Vietnam War movies specifically, we sort of categorize them by the war that's going on in the movie. Like there's World War II movies, World War I movies, Vietnam War movies. But in this case, I mean, I know it's a Vietnam War movie, but I almost think that in this particular movie, it's less a Vietnam War movie than just a war movie, and because I think what war they're in is almost secondary. Whereas other movies, like for example, Full Metal Jacket, I know that that's what makes a good movie, and it's like a war movie is a commentary on all wars, but for some reason in this case, like the fact that it's Vietnam didn't matter so much. Maybe it mattered more because at the time, you know, the Vietnam War was less than 10 years since it ended when this movie came out. But I feel like because of it's an adaptation of this Heart of Darkness, and the narration itself was, by the way, I saw that the narration was written by a separate guy, like I forgot who, some war journalist or something like that. And he wrote this whole narration, which was very, very integral in setting the tone of the film. And Martin Sheen did a very, very good job, you know, getting into character in the narration. One of the few movies where I feel like narration is needed or integral to the movie. Whereas most of them I don't really see. You know, there's a lot of movies done like a few decades ago that if they were redone today, they couldn't take the narration out. I don't think this is one of them. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, and that this movie, I think it's more than just a Vietnam War movie. I thought that it was just a good war movie and commentary on war in general. I did see something though that said that Francis Ford Coppola did not intend this to be an anti-war film. A lot of people, including myself, was like, oh wow, this is a good sort of commentary on war and why it's bad. But he said it's not an anti-war film because there's still war going on in the film. And just by definition, that doesn't make it an anti-war film. It just makes it a war film. And also, I think any sort of movie that has the good guys being soldiers, in a way, can't be anti-war. I think it's just more of a commentary. It still, in a way, sort of romanticizes this thing. So, yeah. So let's talk about Mr. Clean. I thought his death was significant. Not just that it was the midpoint sort of event. Throughout the movie, you know, they're in danger, they're in Vietnam and things like that, but that midpoint is where we get our first death of our main crew, and it was Mr. Clean, also the youngest one. So like, again, the fact that he's the youngest one, he just was listening to his mom's recording when all of this happened. He was expecting to go home. His mom told him to don't get into these situations. He asked Martin Sheen, like, is this gonna get hairy? And Martin Sheen just implied, yeah, it's gonna get hairy, saying that, you know, it's better than being in Ohio somewhere, because Martin Sheen's character's from Toledo. And so yeah, he did find out what he's made of, but at the same time, like, he died, so you can't live the rest of your life. So in a way, Martin Sheen was right and wrong, because it's no guarantee that you'll survive. And it's sad because his mother was saying, you know, don't get into these situations, don't get yourself killed, I need you to go home. And I think Mr. Clean was also trying to go home. I think his name was Tyrone in the movie. I don't think he expected to die, but nobody really expects to die, even though you're a soldier. So especially a young 17-year-old, which comes back to, wait, can 17-year-olds get drafted? I thought you had to be 18. And also, you know, you can go to war, but you can't even buy beer, you know, in the United States. That, you know, that's always going to be a thing in the US, where it's like, unless we reduce our drinking age, like, everybody's going to criticize that, which, you know, makes sense. Yeah, so Mr. Clean, sad. I don't mean to say it like that, but yeah. Robert Duvall's character is also interesting. He had the line, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. I kind of felt that he was a bit over the top. So he's supposed to be that way, I guess, but it's a little bit of a parody. Maybe it's because I didn't see it when it came out, but it's almost like he was a bit cartoonish, but I also think he did enough. He did very well in his portrayal of that person, and I'm sure there's real people who act like that. I felt like he was sort of trivializing everything. He really, like, everything he did was sort of arbitrary. I guess he's in his comfort zone. He likes being at war and things like that. Like, but the way he says one day this all will end was kind of like, it's almost like he's sad that it will all end. He loves this shit, and he sort of treats burning down, destroying these people's villages, sort of equivocates it and treats it like going surfing. It's almost like they're one and the same. He did have some redeeming qualities a little bit, like he offered that guy water after being stabbed in the gut or whatever. But then he didn't really offer him water, because right when someone came and said something about surfing, he was just like threw the water away. But yeah, the fact that like he just was all about catching waves and not seemingly taking things seriously, sort of treating his time there sort of like a vacation, like, oh, I'm here, I don't care why I'm here and I might as well make the most of it, sort of thing. And sort of just like not taking into account that he's playing with real lives, both the Americans and the Vietnamese. So the Bunnies, I thought the Bunnies were, besides like the main story, I thought the Bunnies was the second most significant story. Here's why. Well, if you guys don't remember, the Bunnies came in earlier in the movie and they danced in front of, like, at the first checkpoint they had, and they were selling like the what do you call it? They were selling the posters basically, and then the one of the guys was like, I can't believe it, it's the Miss Playmate of the Year or whatever. And they were all excited, and then we see them, and I thought, they're gonna just fly away. I was like, oh wow, okay, this is just one of those entertainment things. And then later on, right before Mr. Clean gets shot, they get to this other camp where it was a shit show. There was no commanding officer. It was right before they get to that border, the bridge that they were talking about, and basically, Martin Sheen traded a bunch of gasoline for a night with those girls. I don't know if Martin Sheen slept with any of them. I know that the boat guy, the boat driver, he definitely didn't, for whatever reason. I mean, maybe he just didn't want to get an STD. And the other three did, though, and we see Mr. Clean trying to get in there. And then the other two were with another girl separately, and Mr. Clean was, yeah. Now, there are a few things that I thought were significant here. The first thing was, even before all of that, before the deal was made, one of the guys that was saying, like, we don't know who's in charge, we're just doing our job or whatever, he said a specific line. When Martin Sheen asked him some questions, instead of answering it, he said, I'm just a working girl. That's what he said. I'm just a working girl. And a working girl, euphemism for a prostitute. And then later we find out that that guy who was sort of their manager or whatever was basically pimping these girls out. And these girls were high on some shit. So I don't know what they were taking, some opium or some whatever it is, because we do see opium smoking later on in the movie in the Redux version. This sort of juxtaposition relating prostitution with being soldiers. Like, you're doing something you don't want to do, but it's a job, you're getting paid to do it, to put your body out there on the line, right? You're putting your body out there, physical body out there, right? They're not paying you for what you know. They're not paying you for, a service. They're paying you to put your body out there, to put your body at risk, as a tool, your body as a tool. So that's basically what being a soldier is, and that's basically what being a prostitute is. That's what the film is saying. I'm not saying that, but that's sort of the juxtaposition they're trying to put here. So when that guy says, I'm just a working girl, it not only implies it, but he's explicitly saying it in the movie. So you can't deny what the movie's trying to say here. And then also, the one of the girls later on, I think the Playmate of the Year, while Lawrence Fishburne is watching, he goes, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm next, ma'am." So again, implying that this guy is next. He is actually the one next to die. So just to be clear, right after that, he gets shot. Not right after that, but he does get shot first. And then the girl was saying, this is not what I want to do. Like, I'm doing things I don't want to do. Which, if you're getting, especially at the time, if you're getting drafted to go to war for a cause that you don't believe in, you know, for this cause of stopping socialism, stopping communism, and you know, it might not be something you believe in, and you get drafted because you're American and you're of age and you can't afford to go to college, and you're fighting a war you don't want to fight, and you're doing things you don't want to do. So, you know, it's similar to, you know, like being a working girl. Like, you're doing things you don't want to do, you have to do it because that's your job, that's how you make money, and you're part of the system. If you're a hot girl that can't do anything else, well, this is what you do, you sell your body. If you are an able-bodied guy and you're not smart, or you didn't get into college, you're not rich, you become a soldier. So that, I think that was a sort of a big significant statement that the movie was doing here. I don't think this is on purpose. I don't think the guy saying I'm a working girl is a coincidence. I don't think that while the show of the Bunnies was going on in the first checkpoint, and they had the big tall bullets in the back behind the crowd, like these big phallic symbols in the back of like, I don't think that was an accident. I think the equivocation of war and sort of this idea of selling your body is I think a direct comparison being made by the filmmakers. Because you have to remember, this isn't World War II. Like, this isn't a war to fight to stop an imminent threat in the Nazis, who are also trying to build a nuclear weapon, while we are also trying to build a nuclear weapon, while Japan is trying to attack, has already attacked Pearl Harbor and trying to take over the Pacific. Like, these are not imminent threats. Like, we didn't go to Vietnam to stop an imminent threat. We just didn't want to start the domino effect. We were fighting something that we are trying to prevent maybe happening in the future. It's a different thing. It's not self-defense. This is a preemptive thing we're doing by going to Vietnam. So it's a very, you're sort of doing the bidding of people who think they know best, so they are different wars that you can't say they're one and the same. So I can see that's why there was a lot of backlash when it happened then. And just like we're seeing a lot of backlash in today's sort of wars or altercations that the United States and the Western world are in. Yeah. And finally, let's talk about Marlon Brando. It's crazy because he wasn't really in this movie, but his presence was felt throughout. Of course, he's the most famous guy, Martin Sheen's Martin Sheen, but he's no Marlon Brando, And I also read, I think I was on the internet, that Marlon Brando changed the name of the character to Kurtz. I think it was another character before. So he had he had a lot of input on the ongoings of what's going to happen with this character, which I forgot the reason why he wanted to change the name. But anyway, the whole movie I was thinking, okay, well, let's talk about why Willard is on this mission. So from what I can gather, they got this guy, Kurtz, who joined the Special Forces at an old-ass age, relatively old age, threatened to leave or something like that, threatened to go to the press or whatever. So they forced him. They sort of had to allow him to get into the Special Forces. And when he got into the Special Forces, they got him on a task to sort of recruit or convert a bunch of indigenous people to fight against the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong. And while that was happening, it wasn't like he was using some crazy ass tactics. You guys saw how violent that place was. he was sort of going crazy on him. Like, he's sort of the most savage you can go. Basically the most savage you can go on him, he was doing it. And the problem isn't him doing that. The problem isn't him going over the line to sort of control this community of people under him, brainwashing them and however he does that. We can see that it wasn't ethical. And also, it wasn't that he was just using, these people to fight, sort of a proxy. He was sort of a proxy for the United States. The problem was when he brought it out to the press. When the press got caught wind, sent photos of what was going on. And they basically, the army didn't want him to sort of let the world know what was going on, what he was doing over there, because it would make them look bad. That was when they decided to kill him. So Willard, on the other hand, is this guy who this is not his first time. He was part of the CIA, so God knows what he's done. We know he's sort of traumatized with things he's done in the past because of the beginning of the movie. And the way he narrates and some of the things he was doing in the movie, it almost makes him like a sympathizer. It seemed like he wanted to meet Kurtz not because he wanted to kill Kurtz. It's like, is Kurtz onto something? And because he sort of saw and sort of sympathized with what Kurtz was trying to do and trying to say, it seemed to me. But then at the end, but he's still a soldier. He's still trying to do his mission. And I think when he said to the guy saying, look, if I don't come back by 10, call the airstrike, which didn't happen, of course. I think at least he was set on killing Kurtz, but he also understood that the only reason he was able to do it was because Kurtz allowed him to do it. They could have killed him at any time, right? And Kurtz allowed him to do it, and we'll talk about why. So the story is that Kurtz allowed him to do it because he's sort of traumatized and he is sort of tired of all this sort of violence and horror that's been going on. We see that in his final words, the horror. So all this horrific things that he's doing is eating at him, right? So he wants to get put out of his misery. At the same time, we see a juxtaposition of Kurtz getting assassinated by Willard is juxtaposed with the sacrifice, sort of this ritual sacrifice of the water buffaloes. Now, similar to sort of the Godfather scene in The Godfather, we have to juxtapose these two things together. And to me, it's like it's like Kurtz is saying, I am just a sacrifice. My killing me is a sacrifice for the United States, right? I'm just another pawn that perpetuates what's going on here. I've done my part, and now I'm going to get killed, for better optics or whatever it is that they're trying to accomplish. And in the future, just like any sacrifice, there will be more sacrifices. I'm just so at the same time, of course, he also says he doesn't want to kill Willard because he wants Willard to tell his story and tell what really happened to his kids or whatever. So that's another thing. So that's sort of what I read from why the ending happened, why the ending was the way it was. I didn't really go that much more into it because I started editing. That's sort of where I am so far with the ending. I'm sure with you guys telling me what you guys think and what really happened, I'm sure I missed things. And with more time going on for me to reminisce and think about this ending, I'll figure more things out and I'll understand more about it. But for now, I think that's sort of what I have. So what do you think? Also, Dennis Hopper is there, coked out of his mind. I also read somewhere that he was just coked out and it was hard for Francis Ford Coppola to sort of give him what he wanted, which is cocaine. Anyway, so overall, as a conclusion, I thought this was a great movie. I haven't seen too many war movies, like I said. I've seen this, Thin Red Line, which I also love. Full Metal Jacket, I don't know, I saw that one way before. I might have to watch it again because I was a bit young when I saw that. I was still like 14 or something. And I haven't seen any other ones. I mean, I have seen, actually, I'm just not thinking it. I mean, of course, Saving Private Ryan, that's more of a blockbuster. There's the one with Jude Law and Rachel Weisz. I forgot that one, what that one's called. And some other sort of war and borderline war movies. But I thought this one, as a sort of war movie, commentary on war, everything about it was sort of about war. I thought it was great, and I have to put it up there as one of my favorite, if not my favorite, war movie. So I can't wait to see more in the future. Yeah, so what do you guys think of the movie? I see some of you guys have already commented on part 1. Thanks guys for that, I love it. I'll try to reply to you as soon as I can if I haven't already. And what do you guys think of the movie overall? What do you guys think I'm wrong about? What do you guys think I'm right about? And what do you think of the movie overall? I love to get your thoughts on it, not because of anything. I want to learn more, and I want to see how other people perceive this movie, because it's one of those movies where I'm sure there are right ways to interpret it and what the director and the writers meant for things to be, but at the same time, there are also things that are a bit ambiguous, especially the deeper meanings and sort of the allegories they're trying to make to sort of war and politics and the real world in general. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. If you're still here, thank you for watching. Go ahead, hit the like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video, whenever that may be. I'll try to come back to you guys soon. And remember, until the next video, easy does it.